It is now time for the more conversational part of the panel. There are some burning questions in my mind related to this panel's theme, and I would like to hear your responses. I know that both of you are deeply engaged in theory and practice, one informing the other in a reinforcing cycle. So here's my first question, Dr. Lancaster. How do you see the knowledge and practice of the perfection of wisdom as a bodhisattva guide us out of this global anxiety that the pandemic poses?
Thank you. I remind myself that the definition of the Dharma is the way things really are. And I realized that when we heard just now from Venerable Miao Guang, in many ways, Master Hsing is always saying to people that the wisdom comes when we know the way things really are and we're able to deal with it and make a move toward solving some of the issues that life presents to us. But I asked myself one question, and that is, why aren't we more wise? Why don't we have more of this? What is it that holds us back? And I think it's fear. We fear to know exactly what the situation is because we're not certain in our hearts of what is really the case. And so, of course, we fear the unknown. How do we overcome it? I think that one of the issues in my own country at this point is we are just being torn asunder by events in my country. I'm so distressed by that. And I believe that in order to begin to handle this, it has to be compassion for each other. I think you start there. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Lancaster, for reminding us that wisdom comes from realizing the way things really are, and for us not to allow fear to hold us back, and constantly reminding us again, as bodhisattvas, the value of compassion. Venerable Miao Guang, you're very close to the pulse of the world. Would you like to add anything?
Thank you, Venerable Jue. I feel that one of our ways to truly be free from the fears in life is to apply one of the greatest skills taught by not just the Buddhas, but also the Chan masters. That is, not to try to solve life's problem as one big problem, but to begin by solving the smaller problems that is immediately in front of us. And for Buddhists to be able to do this, it requires our constant mindfulness of the truths that we have learned about either impermanence, that all phenomena we experience are transient, about the need to not hold on to that Atman, which creates all the fires. But at the same time, it is about the constant connectedness with Prajnaparamita that gives us the Ishvara, or the self-mastery, which all students or all learners of the Heart Sutra pursue. And so again, this is one of my experiences with Venerable Master Hsing. This was probably about 5 years ago when he was confined to the wheelchair and was not able to see. But he kept his life busy every day. He received rounds of guests of up to sometimes 5 or 10 every day. But one thing he did was he always received his guests at the entrance of the building. He never waited in his rooms. He wanted to make sure that all guests felt welcome and at home by his personal presence at the entrance. And so a usual part of his reception of guests would be this greeting at the door and the sharing of the journey or path back into the lounge. So this is one of those days when he was wheeled towards the lounge with his guest. And when he was moved into an elevator, because there were so many people, as the door of the elevator was about to close, unfortunately, one of the monastics still tried to squeeze in, right? And then so she got wedged between the door. So at that time, everyone in the elevator did nothing but gasp by saying, "Oh, Ami Tuofo." Okay? But saying Ami Tuofo, as they said that, the monastic was still kind of stuck in between the elevator doors. If you have experience of that, sometimes it hurts, right? Sometimes it's kind of embarrassing. So Venerable Master at that moment turned to everyone and said the following. He says, "At this moment, what is better than Amitabha Buddha is probably that finger of yours that reaches out to press the button that says open." Yeah. So that was so memorable. It again brought me back to the reality of Dharma in our everyday life. So the question of, can Dharma solve our smallest problems in front of us? If we can do that, right, it's like eating a whole cake bit by bit. You will no longer choke on the big pieces, but you learn to enjoy every small piece that also gives you the joy and the ishvara. So for me, I feel this is probably one of the ways I can try to be free or to be further from the phases of fear.
Thank you, Venerable Miao Guang, for encouraging us to take baby steps through mindfulness of reality, and with practical, wise, and compassionate examples from Venerable Master Hsing. Now, I have a more personal question for you. As the English interpreter to the Venerable Master, you have had the privilege of observing a Buddhist master of tremendous compassion and wisdom. What is the most memorable moment to you in the way the Venerable Master has demonstrated the skillful wisdom of Prajnaparamita in his daily life?
Okay. How much time do we have? I have a very long list.
Well,
Yes.
It is the most memorable moment.
Yes, indeed. The privilege of being able to observe almost a human version of the historical Buddha in front of me was not just his amazing wisdom and compassion to really change people's lives, but the most memorable moment was probably sometimes, again, the smallest bits of fun that he shows. He shows the innocence of his heart in the simplest moments of life that not only brings a smile to people's face, it also relieves people from sometimes their pain or suffering. This is another moment. As Venerable Master Hsing travels the world a lot, everywhere he goes, he's almost received like a superstar. The devotees will be very excited to see him, and in many cases, he will be crowded by groups of people. So it was one of those days when we were on our way to the airport, and a group of ladies, very well dressed, elegantly dressed ladies, saw Venerable Master, started to squeal and crowded Venerable Master Hsing. They just wanted a picture with him, right? And none of them wanted to miss the chance as we were moving. So they were scrambling. Therefore, in the process of scrambling, unfortunately, one of the very well-dressed ladies fell flat on her face. It was plain awkward, right? We were not sure what to do because it was meant to be the happiest moment of her day. And then it turned into a nightmare. And it was at that moment I saw Venerable Master's skillful wisdom in resolving the crisis. So he calmly turned to the lady and said, "One prostration will do." And we all started to laugh, right? Because in the Buddhist etiquette, Like, it is the highest respect anybody can ever show to a Buddhist master when they see them. That is by laying prostrations. And usually out of courtesy, the Buddhist masters will say one prostration will do. Right? And so the lady, although awkward and embarrassed at first, right, kind of brushed it all away with that simple remark, and it shifted everybody's attention. And so I truly appreciated that moment to see Venerable Master's immediate connection with the lady's feelings and emotions. And he rescued the moment, and at the same time still left it to be the most memorable time, probably, of her life. And we will surely remember his compassion and skillful means for the rest of our lives too. That is what I have to share.
Thank you so much for this very interesting example. Indeed, a great Buddhist Chan master rescued the moment and created so much memory of how we should handle difficult situations in our lives, to just think out of the box. Well, now, Dr. Lancaster, you too have had several occasions of intimate encounters with the Venerable Master. What are your observations around his skillful applications?
Some years ago at University of the West, we were privileged to have the Master come and give a series of lectures. And it was early days. It was before Zoom, but we put it on the internet, and we had people all over the country sending in questions. And one of the questions that came in was, someone asked him, please give me a mantra that will give me good luck. And we all sat waiting. And I've learned that when he starts out basically saying, it seems to me, you know that you're going to get an answer. I think that for a bit, everybody, or at least some people, expected he would give her a mantra. But instead, he challenged her. And he opened up a whole other way of dealing with life's problems. He said, it's been my experience that people who work hard are very lucky. And that was his answer to her. And I think that all of us in the audience felt here was a leader. He could play with giving something to somebody who's probably a supporter. He could, in a sense, say, I have these things I can hand to you, I can give to you, I have a product. And he didn't do that. He did not take that opportunity to in any way show that he could be commodified, I would say. He said, as Venerable Miao Guang has told us, that people who work hard, people who put forth effort, and that's daily effort, in their jobs, with their families, with other people, with their own lives. These are the lucky people. These are the ones who really have the luck. I've never forgotten his answer. It was such a shock, but it was perfect.
Thank you, Dr. Lancaster. Indeed, Bodhisattvas are those who understand conditions. They don't deliver fixed solutions. They surprise us, but leave such memorable moments for all of us. Thank you so much for sharing. I'm sure everyone online will now agree with me that it takes really very good storytelling bodhisattvas here to be able to come close to and appreciate the wisdom of the Maha Bodhisattva, Venerable Master